We got through security. It was long, but
yeah, we did the clear thing.
we got hooked up with Clear and got through pretty quick.
5
It's
minutes.
supposed to be like an hour and 45 minutes, but we got through in like 5 minutes. We're on our way to Maui. Cue the travel montage.
Woo!
All right, thank you. How's it going? Find out a thing. Up there. Thank you. Our first adventure of the trip was whale watching with Mackay Adventures out of Lahaina. Lahaina is a neat town, but I'll get to that in a bit. Whales on 3, 1, 2, 3, whale! We had a great experience with this charter. The staff was very pleasant and knowledgeable.
When they feed, you're charging underwater. Not only are you going to get thousands of fish, but you're also going to get thousands of gallons of water, right?
But I have the feeling that you'd see plenty of whales this time of year regardless of the company that you choose. The only thing I might recommend is going with a smaller boat rather than a larger one. Our vessel had about 12 guests, and the captain did a great job of making sure everyone could see the whales as often as possible. December through March is the time to visit the Hawaiian Islands if whales are on your list. The pregnant females fatten up in nutrient-rich northern waters, like Alaska, during the summer months, then head south for the winter to give birth and nurse in warmer water during the winter. I am not kidding when I say that Maui in mid-January was lousy with these marine mammals, and that led to quite the show for us, from a respectful distance, of course. Now let's talk about Lahaina. Lahaina is a historical town from at least the late 18th century. It has a lot of known history as a whaling and missionary town after Kamehameha I united the islands into the Kingdom of Hawaii. Notably, the reconstructed ruins of the fort next to the old courthouse served as a prison and defensive position for the early 1800s government of Lahaina. The sailors of the whaling vessels were told to get back to their ships or spend the night in the fort. The remnants of the old fort are overshadowed, however, by the massive banyan tree taking up the town square. Here, people are milling about, and a gentleman was playing guitar. Lahaina was the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii from 1820 through 1845, when the capital was moved back to Honolulu. But the town remained a whaling center for decades to come. Front Street Lahaina is cute, as they say, and has become the focal point for boutiques and souvenir shops on the island. We walked down Front Street towards Mick Fleetwood's restaurant, aptly named Fleetwood's, for a side of fries and a drink after our whale expedition.
We are on the road.
Good morning.
Good morning. We are going on the road to Hana. We're doing the southern part today, so kind of looping down around the mountain or around the island.
Mountain 2, yeah.
Mountain 2. And our final destination is Waimoku.
Waimoku Falls on the PPY Trail. We've got a number of destinations along the way, not all of which we're super sure of yet, but we'll see, and we'll take you along. Our first stop along the way was the Holy Ghost Mission. The church was built by and for the Portuguese Catholic immigrants moving to Maui to work on the sugar plantations. Construction began in 1894, and the church was formally dedicated in 1899. We happened to be there on a Sunday, and the parishioners were more than welcoming. We were able to take a peek inside, which was beautiful, but did not record out of respect for the congregation. Our second stop on the reverse road to Hana was the Manawai Nui Gulch. This was carved out of the lava rock by rainwater coming down off of Haleakala and reminded us a bit of being back in Colorado. We had intended to stop at the grave of Charles Lindbergh, but you should know that the road to Hana does not have cell service, neither the northern route nor the southern route, for probably 60% of the way. Because of this, I could not pull up the GPS location of the gravesite, and we ultimately passed it, unfortunately. The southern half of the road to Hana has significantly fewer points of interest than the northern portion, which is the half that most people talk about. It is also much more treacherous. Much of the road is single-lane dirt road with a sheer drop to the ocean if you stray off the narrow path. That being said, even Hana, who hates being stuck in the car for any period of time, would concede that the Waimoku Falls were well worth braving the voyage. Our final stop was in Haleakala National Park for the PPY Trail. We arrived on a free access day, but you should note that this trail and the volcano that we visit in a couple days are in the same national park. Entrance is $30 and lasts for 3 days, so you should do these two activities within that time period to avoid paying that fee again. This trail is about 4 miles round trip, during which you gain about 800 feet. It really isn't bad terrain. During the trail you will see a large banyan tree, a bamboo forest, and finally the 400-foot Waimoku Falls.
Well, we made it. 2 mile hike, 800 feet, not too bad.
No.
We cruised through it pretty quick. And then here we are at the bottom of Waimoku Falls. And I gotta say, it's pretty good.
I don't think I've seen anything like this ever.
No, pretty cool. So thank you for hiking with us.
The next day, Hana and I got up early once again to hit the road to Hana. Again. This time, however, we would be going the more traditional route on the northern half of the island. Our first stop was Ho'okipa Beach at the suggestion of our hotel valet, because Hana really wanted to see the sea turtles. Apparently this beach is a popular resting spot for the reptiles. Back in Virginia Beach, our most common sea turtle was the loggerhead, but here on Maui the most common is the green, followed by the hawksbill. On our way out we did not see any, but when we came back at the end of our day we saw about 30 turtles and even a Hawaiian monk seal. Continuing on, our next stop was Twin Falls, a popular waterfall stop along the road to Hana. Parking was $10. There are 3 different waterfalls you can walk to. The first 2 are very close, and the third is just a bit farther down the trail. All 3 are very easily accessible within a 20-minute walk or so. The third waterfall, though the farthest, is the most scenic in our opinion. We took a little dip in the pool and explored the area tucked in under the rock behind the fall. The first 2 waterfalls are the ones that you'll want if jumping is your thing. On our way back down to the car, there were some locals jumping off the second one that showed me how to do it. Back on the road, we were planning on stopping at a place called the Bamboo Forest, but the parking on the side of the road was crazy busy, and we had seen a bamboo forest the day prior. I had wanted to see the rainbow eucalyptus trees, but fortunately we were able to see those later on the side of the road. Continuing on down the road to Hana, you pass by these overlooks with beautiful views of the ocean. Our second to last stop was the Hana lava tube. This was awesome. If you're looking for a cave to walk through and learn about lava flows, this is that. For $15 each, we were given flashlights and descended down into the cave, which was formed by lava flowing down from Haleakala and cooling into an empty tube shape. You can walk about half a mile down into the cave and, when you cut your flashlights off, experience about the darkest dark you've probably ever seen, which was pretty cool. Finally, we arrived at our destination, the end of our road to Hana Day, the Black Sand Beach. Note that this state park requires reservations, which weren't hard to come by, but needed to be booked about a day or 2 prior. Honestly though, I appreciate the reservation system because the beach is fairly small, and I liked that it wasn't too crowded. There was a little sea cave off to one side that you could walk through. Overall, the beach was neat. It's not a beach for lounging or swimming. The waves were pretty rough, and I cut my foot on underwater rocks while swimming. However, the scenery is pretty, and combined with the other stops on the road to Hana, including the lava tube, the beach is worth seeing.
Well, we made it. The road to Hana was not that bad.
It wasn't bad, just slow moving.
Little slow
for
moving.
a couple hours.
And here we are at the Black Sand Beach, our final destination, and we're gonna go take a dip. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I forgot to charge the GoPro last night like an amateur, so the footage from day 4 is a little limited. Today, we took a snorkel charter out. The charter went to a spot on West Maui called Coral Gardens. We had a great time. I personally love snorkeling because I love marine biology, but Hana was a little freaked out. We saw a ton of these black triggerfish and these yellow tang. Honestly, these two fish were by far the most populous on the reef. But we also saw a bunch of these uhu parrotfish, this black unicorn fish, and this decent-sized trumpet fish, who was an absolute chiller. What was also cool was that when you dove, you could hear the whales singing off in the distance. Which you can kind of hear in the background of that clip under the sound of me gasping for air. I don't swim a lot in Colorado. I've gotten rusty. On our last day in Maui, we dropped off my parents at the airport, and then ascended Haleakala in the evening for a little hiking, sunset, and stargazing. But first, in the morning, Hana, my mom, and I went out on a traditional Polynesian canoe with some of the athletes from the resort rowing team. I also did not know that the resorts have rowing teams that compete. Apparently they race across hundreds of miles of open ocean, but that's a story for another day. After pushing the canoe out through the surf, we paddled around for a bit, enjoying the calm morning waters and learning about the Polynesians and their canoes. Our guide said that he has had whales come up to the canoe. We didn't get so lucky, but still had a great morning on the water that included a little dip with goggles to see some more fish. After dropping my parents off at the airport, we went to find some food to bring up the mountain with us for dinner. Near the airport, there's this really cool food truck park. They have a ton of different options that looked yummy. Ultimately, we went with the ono teppanyaki and seafood. We took this food to go and got an acai bowl for now. Though this was my first acai bowl, no cap, it was straight up bussin'. Other bowls are dog water on God. The drive up Haleakala is narrow and winding. On our ascent, it was quite cloudy as well. When we got to the top, we were disappointed because the views were obstructed by the clouds.
Wait, I can choose which vegetable? It was cloudy, but it looks like the clouds are lifting. We were worried that we wouldn't be able to get the sunset and stargazing, but it's possible it still comes through for us. This camera work is gonna be, I didn't bring the gimbal, so this is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
But we began hiking, and before long the clouds lifted and we could tell that the sunset was going to be good. The hiking on Haleakala can be as long as you want. Some of the longer trails up here are over 17 miles long. We hiked down into the crater for about an hour, and then came back up to the summit for the sunset. On our hike, we were able to see this endangered species of goose called the nene that is forced to live up on the mountaintop because of an invasive species of weasel that lives lower on the island. There were a ton of people up here. Many had brought chairs and blankets, but we found a nice little spot to sit with our backs on a rock.
Sitting up here, watching the sunset.
It's beautiful.
After the sunset, we ate in the car. This teppanyaki was really good. I would absolutely eat there again. Of course the stars wouldn't come out on camera. This is something you'll have to come to Hawaii to see for yourself. But Hana and I agree. The stars here are like nothing we've seen before.
Very good. Wow.
Thank you for joining us on our trip to Maui. Hopefully we were able to show you some things to do on the island, or at least keep you entertained by what we did this time. See you next time.
Good. Do you have vegetables?